Greetings to all of you. And it's been an incredible little 3 day workshop that kind of cascaded over to. Oops, I forgot to turn my notifications off. So hopefully it doesn't pop up too much while we're live here for a minute. But this is the thing, the past few days through last week, we went through that workshop and we had a chance to dig in deep and talk about mindsets and different strategies and technologies that are available to help your business push forward and get you into the path that you want for success, get you on track for some of these goals. But this is the thing, a lot of people that are online searching for some of these answers, what they're doing is maybe consuming a lot of content, coming up with a lot of ideas, birthing so many ideas, but until you start to take action and turn those ideas into something tangible, their thoughts. And everything does start, it starts with your thoughts, everything in your life. But with your business, you've got to start to define certain parameters to define execution time. When it's time to get beyond, I'm excited and I'm ignited, to actually launching and doing something phenomenal in your business. And, I see a lot of people that have shared like their websites and their pages. They're good, it's a presence online. But part of it comes down to, are you using a strategy that's bringing you results? Or are you sitting there daydreaming, writing out these to-do lists? And maybe for you, you may have a scenario that you don't have anyone on your team, whether at work or even in your home, that can support or encourage you or guide you to get you on track to actually move beyond just being ignited and instead launching into these ideas. And that's one of the things that we do with our clients, is help them come up with ideas, but it's more than the idea. It's implementing and executing and fine tuning and having someone that maybe has some experience. And I've been doing events for a long time, and I think that sometimes this human factor of where we are is where it's comfortable, but we expect things to change. But until you take that stride to make some of these changes, there won't be anything new. You're not going to birth anything new out of that. And I'll share a little story with you. Many moons ago, I had just wrapped up a big event for Chevy. Had done their 100th anniversary, and they did their event here in Michigan. And I had the pleasure of producing that event. It was great. It was fantastic. A lot of exposure. And then from there, I actually had referrals to some pretty big nonprofits in Michigan. And when I first went in to talk to the CEO about an annual event that they had that had gone flat, they couldn't get attendance, they couldn't get people to come. I think their biggest turnout was 35 people at this live event. And as we moved forward, I started providing ideas and suggestions that were great. And we talked about budget, and they really didn't have a budget. They didn't, but they wanted to have change. And as I started presenting some of these ideas, obviously their budget went up significantly from the year before because they weren't doing anything. And they were getting results that reflective of not doing anything. And eventually I ended up saying to him, because he said, we've never done it that way. We've never spent money like that. We've never taken action like that. And I asked him very frankly, how's that working out for you? And his response was, not well. So fortunately, they ended up getting on board. We created an event that was absolutely amazing that year. That year, within 3 months of that first meeting, they had a wait list to go to the event. And a lot of it had to do with the strategy and the content. But honestly, none of that mattered until there was a willingness to say, I'm tired of thinking of ideas. I'm ready to just take action. I'm ready to create a game plan and push the go button. And I want to encourage that for you, to start looking at what are things that you keep thinking about and toying with, but you're not doing it, or you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to change, and you haven't changed anything yourself. A lot of it's mindset, but at the same time, a lot of it also has to do with a willingness to say, hey, I've got to do something beyond what it is that I'm doing. And in this upcoming accelerated class that we're going to be hosting starting April 2nd, that's what I'm going to be doing, working with a small handful of clients that are going to have a chance to, of course, do some of the stuff like optimizing your profile and figuring out, does your website need to be updated, and your page and your group. We're going to talk about all that. And I'm going to give you different templates and ideas and customize things just to you. But that's not the big thing. The big thing is going to be having a chance to work with me and being able to see behind the scenes what you're doing or things that you need to be changing or looking at, and having a space that you can talk openly about some of the obstacles that you're facing and coming up with solutions. It can become very uncomfortable for some people when you start talking about, money and wealth and prosperity. Even with maybe some people that are on your team, you may have another vision that's bigger than some people may be able to imagine. It happens. It's happened to me. Even as a agency owner, talking about, funding and raising sales and profit margins. To some people, they feel uncomfortable. There's like a guilt associated with making money. And really, there shouldn't be. Sometimes you got to step back and say, hey, what do I have to do to expose myself to mindsets that are going to help get me on track instead of doing the same thing? I mean, are you running a website that looks like from the early 2000s? It's a website. They type in your address and people can find your information. But are you marketing it? Have you created a home space there that you have a party of your own? That's really what your website should be, your space. Yeah, like a directory where people can find you, but it's more than that. And if you're stuck in 2000 mode of what a website is, this may be the time to look at, what do I do? What are the latest trends that are happening that have had success for other people? It's time. But doing the coddling of it's good enough, isn't going to get you where you want to go if you're trying to go beyond where you're at. And this is the time to start to make some of these changes. So when you work with me and my team, we have a chance to look at the stuff that you have and point you in different directions. But to move beyond we have an idea. No, we want to execute. We want to see you start to be able to bring in numbers that are going to help you get on track for success, whether that's increasing your attendance to an online event or increasing your sales. All of it's number, but you've got to find out what is it that's driving those numbers to increase it. And this is the thing. I do want to say this really quick, because talking about increasing numbers, you don't have to have 10,000 people or 5,000 people or even 1,000 people that are following and engaging with your social media and online presence to be successful. You don't. You just need a certain number of clients that are going to be a good fit for you, and you're going to be able to help them. So sometimes when we get into, I'm going to call them vanity numbers, how many people like my page? And I'm going to tell you, I've had pages as big as 40,000 people following it to, I have a small group right now of 118 people, and people keep trying to get in that group, but we're very select on who we allow into that one group. And it's been filled with opportunity. But this is the thing. It's not always about, get 100,000 people. 100,000 people can be great if they're your market and they're engaged. So in the upcoming April session, we're going to be talking about that and helping you create a blueprint to connect with the right people and to help you connect with the right mindset so that you can break some of these numbers, so that you can get beyond where you're at right now today. Or even worse, being in one of those modes where you're constantly looking in the past You keep looking on what was, pre-COVID my business was, or 5 years ago, or 20 years ago. It's faster to go forward than it is to go backwards. And if you're ready to finally take your business, take this idea that you have, and you want to build momentum around it, I really want to encourage you to jump on board and get into this accelerator program we have. It starts April 2nd, and until tomorrow, March 17th, I have an incredible promotion that you have to go check it out because it's priced just phenomenal so that you can get into a way to fix your marketing and do it where you're not breaking the bank, but it gives you some of that momentum to say, hey, it's my turn to start saying yes to my business instead of just yes to another idea, yes to another workshop, yes to another free download template. I want you to become ultra focused on what your goals are with all of the strategy and technology and fun, cool gizmos that you can use for your business. What are you doing right now that's different than a year ago? Unless a year ago you're breaking numbers and you're still growing. And even then, there's always room for improvement. But if you're here, I assume it's because you're looking for a strategy that's going to help you with your business. And that's what we do. We like to help our clients connect with the right mindset and the right tools, and to provide that neutral environment for them to be able to disclose obstacles that they're facing. And there's different things that I do to work with clients to help pull that out, because sometimes you don't know what your obstacle is. Sometimes you just need that outside point of view to give you a little bit of insight and clarity to help you get on track. But it can become very overwhelming when you keep trying to follow different strategies, fusing it all together with duct tape, a couple zip ties, acting like you're MacGyver, thinking you're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out next time. Sometimes what you got to do is dive in and just start swimming. And when your water's clean and you're swimming in clean water, you can come out and feel refreshed. And that's what we're going to do with that group of people that start on April 2nd. So we have some special bonuses that are also going to be available just for the people that do sign up by March 17th. But if this sounds like you and you're stuck in this repeat loop of not actually following through and creating a strategy that works, that you're just posting online, posting. Earlier last week, I was sharing with you, some of the experiments that I've done in the background for moving from posting 12 times a day I publish Kudos magazine. For those of you that don't know me, I publish a magazine called Kudos. And we did some experiments to find out what would happen when we moved from publishing 12 times a day to publishing 3 times a day. And it was great. Of course, like some of the numbers took some time to adjust, but sometimes you may just be posting your own little heart out. But the question is are you connecting with the right people, or are you in this mindset from the past that's still following you with all these new posts and content that you're creating? There's a lot of opportunities online, whether it's you creating your own challenge or your workshop, or doing a virtual summit, or doing a fundraiser online, or hosting a special event or a product launch. There's a lot of awesome things that you can do online. And we would love to help you with that. But equal to all of that, we want to help you get into the right mindset to understand some of the trends, some of the things that are happening, and to ignite you to the point that you push that I'm launching, I'm going, and tweaking along the way so that you can get to that place of perfection. And business is like that. It's always changing. It's always growing. And part of it is if you're willing to make changes, you can still ride that tide of success and bring in more wealth to you, bring in more prosperity, bring in more goodness. But if you hold on so tight to what was, you're not going to be able to open your hands to grab what's in front of you. Many years, my stepdad had a Shell gas station out in Oakland County, and he serviced all the like a lot of the police cars in Oakland County and stuff like that. They had 4 bays, and they would do all of their mechanical work. And he did great. He actually had won multiple awards from Shell for, like, I think it was like beautification, like most beautiful Shell gas station. Um, painted the curbs constantly, fresh flowers. He was a Marine. He was literally, I grew up with a drill sergeant, you guys. But every night they'd scrub those bays where, I mean, you could eat off of the floors in the car bays. They were that clean. And as time went on, things started changing where, like, the way that mechanics worked on cars and the way people were purchasing cars. And at the time, I think they were doing like a lot of emission testing, um, which back at that time, Michigan, if you had a car, they would have to do an emission test to make sure your car was still safe. And then eventually the emission test went away. So change was hitting him. Here he had this prosperous business, 4 bays in a gas station, and a mandated test that people had to do on cars. So every month, it was like an automatic business. People would come in for their annual admissions test. And they'd get their gas and their little foo-foo stuff, and they'd leave. Well, as that changed, so did his business model. And he could have said, I'm holding on to my bays. This is what I love to do. This is how we're going to do it. And he was a car enthusiast. I'll tell you more about him a little bit another time. But he could have said, I'm holding on to it. I'm not changing. This is my calling. I know how to fix cars. And he was an incredible mechanic. He actually at one point was a race car driver for GM. He did the Mexican Road Rally. Cars were his life. He loved cars, and lived it, breathed it, ate it. That was his whole life, was cars. So when this happened, and they stopped doing the state test, he could have said, you know what, I'm going to still keep doing all the bays and the mechanical work and the flat tires. I'm going to keep doing that. But he didn't. He was a smart entrepreneur, and he started watching what was going on in the market around him. And one of the shifts that they started seeing were more of these party stores, or a combination of party store gas station. Now you got to remember, this is going back into the 80s, you guys. So life was a little bit different. We didn't have speedways on every corner. It was, gas stations were different in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even 90s. But he saw this trend of like these little stores that were popping up at these gas stations. And what he decided to do, he got on that hub, and he took a big plunge. And actually, it wasn't just a big plunge. You got to remember, cars were something that he loved, but he saw the market shifting. He saw those tests weren't going to be required anymore. He had to make some changes. So he converted all 4 of those bays that he had scrubbed and deep cleaned every night for years. And he converted the whole thing. He did a big remodel, and he converted the whole thing to a party store, where it was a gas station and a party store, sort of like what you see now with the speedways. But there weren't that many of them back in the 80s. So you could get your snacks and your soda and your pop and all that good stuff while you're on a little road trip. But it took some courage for him to do it. I was young back then, but I'm sure. And I remember some of the conversations when he would come home at night. But he had to be brave and realize some of the changes that were happening, and be willing to make those changes and do it in a loving, like, full-hearted way. And he didn't hold back. He didn't do it begrudgingly, like, oh, I've got to quit doing the part that I love this. He still got to tinker with his toys. I think later on he ended up getting like a used car lot, and they'd buy cars at the auction and then sell the cars. So he still got his little car fix. But he was looking at it from a practical business standpoint. Where was the market going? What did he have to do? And he didn't just sit there and daydream and think about it for a year, 2 years. He didn't do it. Came up with a vision, and then he started working towards that. And as a result, he had great success. His business continued and it flourished until he was ready to retire. And then he finally sold that property, and it was great. But part of the question I have for you right now is, are you finding yourself in a situation where you're saying, I got these great ideas. I got this whole notebook. It's just great ideas. Whole notebook, lots of ideas. But the question is, are you doing it, or are you just writing your stuff down? Writing's helpful. Daydreaming's helpful. It's beautiful. But you got to get to the point where you say, you know what? I'm ready for a little bit more. I'm ready for that magic. A little bit of this and that magic. And I hope that you find, but part of it's going to come from you saying, I'm ready for 2021 to start to execute, to not just take a quick compliment of, yep, my website's up, and yep, that was a cute post, and instead start creating something that's beyond just a quick post. Start taking leaps forward. Start making connections with new people. Do you have people that work in your business, and those are the only ones that are engaging and liking your content? Or even forget the engaging and liking. Are you having people that are following through on the back end and saying, you know what, I need that product or that good or that service? Is your marketing translating to an increase of whatever it is that you're trying to obtain? Do you have a nonprofit and you only have the same 300 people that are constantly supporting? And you know how I feel about repeat and referrals. I love it. I absolutely love them. But if you want to grow, you're going to have to find some other things to do to bring in some of those new people into your organization. Or another one that I've even seen is where you have some of your population of supporters for nonprofits, and they're aging out. They're retiring, they're passing away. What are you doing to get that legacy to the next generation and get them involved and pulled in? Are you doing stuff from 2002 and you think that you're going to attract young blood to support what you're doing? You got to be practical, and you got to move beyond just that, oh, it was a great idea. I've got a bunch of ideas. Move beyond the ideas. Start to execute it. Start to surround yourself with other mindsets that are going to help you break some of these barriers. And it may be requiring an outside influence to help you get on track, to help you work through some of these things that are minor barriers in your mind, but to you, it's a mountain. Sometimes you just need somebody to help you see that new point of view and to say, you know what, it's time. It's time. It's time to move forward. And, it's sort of like if you have a car, you can get excited about it. You get in the car, you turn on the key, but if you don't put it in gear and hit the gas, it's never going to go. And that's what we're going to be doing in this accelerated class. We're going to be refreshing lots of stuff that you have already, giving you some pointers of where you should be going, and then mapping out what is the blueprint, a customized blueprint based on a blueprint with a proven track record, and then implement it. That's the key thing right there. Implement and execute. And that's what we're going to be doing, pushing you to implement and execute, and stop letting fear or comfort. I'm comfortable here. But are you? Are you comfortable? And sometimes where you're comfortable, if you don't make provisions, just like that gas station, is comfortable, but will you be in, a year, 5 years? Is it time to make the changes now before something else happens? But a lot of this just comes down to you saying, I am sick and tired of listening to 10,000 people. And some of them, I'm going to tell you online, there's some people that have some absolutely beautiful minds that I've learned a lot from. But I'm also going to tell you, some of them are full of shit. And they project something that they're going to teach you that they haven't done themselves. And it's kind of sad, really. It's really sad. I think that at a certain point, we all have different gifts and paths that we've been down, and then we can teach people. But if you haven't been there, how the hell are you teaching somebody to make multiple six figures if you haven't done it? I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't get it. It's like false advertising. And it doesn't mean that they don't have something they can teach, but if they're trying to teach you something they haven't done, why are you taking advice from them? Why? You might be able to get golden nuggets in that area that they have their expertise, but if they don't have what it is that you're looking for, get on board with where you're supposed to go so that you can finally get to that place of having your goals a reality. Not just, oh, I'm gonna think about it. I want to think about it. We can talk over coffee all day long and think about it. But what I want to do is give you an action plan that works. And when you say, well, we've never done it this way before, well, maybe it's time that you try. Maybe it's time that you try something new. Maybe it's time that you choose success instead of just brainstorming what's another idea. Ideas are great. Everything starts with your thought. And even with the law of attraction, one of the misconceptions or the mishaps that people make with the law of attraction is they think that it's um, just feel good vibes, like just think positive and everything will work out. And it'll just be like this magic, ooh. It's more than that. It is more than that because you've got to deal with where you're at in truth and start to visualize where you're going in the future. But you can't have this ignore everything that's messed up and then you're going to act like it's freaking romper room. Give me a lollipop. You need more than a lollipop. If you're online, it's probably because if you're online in this group or watching these videos, it's because you want to find ways to take your business to this next level. And I'm going to show you strategies. I'm going to show you all these different really cool things that we've done with multiple clients over the many years we've been in business and the new things that we're doing too. But this accelerator class is for more than that. This is for creating an opportunity for you to get over some of these mind hurdles, for you to have another set of eyes that can guide you on things that are working now or adjustments that you can make, and even help you through some of these mindset shifts. If you have a goal, let's say you want to make $200,000 this year, or even let's say, you're a nonprofit and you want to generate over $1 million this year. What are you doing differently? And I think the one thing is with COVID, it taught us how to utilize some of these online tools. But what you've got to remember is the tools are just tools. They're nothing without you behind it. Just like somebody building a house, they can have the saw and the hammer, nails, all that good stuff. But if you don't have the labor out there that's cutting it and sizing it and creating the frame, it's just stuff that's sitting there. And when I'm talking about labor, I'm specifically talking about you and your team. But when they start cutting that wood, they measure twice and cut once. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to show you different ways that you can save money and time and headache and break through some of these barriers. So if you are ready to finally say, hey, enough with this repeat cycle, enough with just being stuck in the past of either strategies that you used before, or even worse than that, stuck in the past, rethinking negative crap that's in your head. We need to flush that out and get to this place of like this new vision of where do you see your business going? Where do you see this project happening? And I can teach you all this fun stuff that you see, with doing your fancy little graphics and stuff like that. I can help you with that. But this is more than that. These are tools. These are tools. I want to teach you how to be confident and to pick up the tools. I want to teach you how to break through some of these mindset barriers that are preventing you from reaching your goal, whether that's making $200,000 a year for yourself or being a nonprofit and raising over $1 million a year. And you can do it. So go check out this link below or over here. Boop, boop, boop. Go check it out. Let me see if I can get it over here. I actually have the wrong screen. Oop, oop. Here we go. But you can come over here and go down there. elizabethmarasco.com/beam now. All right, you guys, in the meantime, have a great day.